If you open your closet right now, chances are the first thing you'll see is a t-shirt. They're everywhere. Plain, graphic, tight, loose, tucked in, oversized. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live. At some point, you've probably owned more t-shirts than you can count. They become such an ordinary piece of clothing that it's hard to imagine a time when they didn't exist. But surprisingly, the t-shirt as we know it hasn't been around forever. It actually has a fascinating origin story that starts with undergarments, takes a detour through the US Navy, and eventually turns into the global fashion staple we can't live without. So let's unravel the story behind one of the simplest yet most influential garments in history. Who invented the t-shirt? Right here, on History of Simple Things. The story of the t-shirt begins not in the fashion world, but in the world of underclothes. Back in the 19th century, people wore all sorts of layers, undershirts, long johns, union suits that were meant to be hidden beneath outer garments. These weren't designed to be seen. They were practical, warm, and provided a barrier between skin and heavy coats or uniforms. One of the earliest ancestors of the t-shirt was the one-piece union suit. Imagine a full-body pajama made from cotton that buttoned down the front. They were useful but also incredibly inconvenient, especially when it came to warmer weather. Workers and soldiers began cutting these suits in half, turning them into separate tops and bottoms. The top half, essentially a short-sleeved, button-free cotton shirt, is where the roots of the t-shirt began to take shape. The turning point came in the early 1900s, when the US Navy officially adopted the short-sleeved crew-neck cotton undershirt as part of its standard uniform. By 1913, sailors were wearing what we'd now recognize as a modern t-shirt beneath their heavy uniforms. Why? Because cotton was breathable, cheap, and easy to clean. It kept soldiers comfortable in hot conditions and could even be worn on its own when uniforms were too much. This practicality quickly caught the attention of workers outside the military. Miners, farmers, and factory laborers started using t-shirts as inexpensive work shirts. They weren't fashionable yet, they were simply functional. But the idea of a lightweight, durable, collarless shirt was spreading fast. Now here's where the name comes in. The garment was clearly popular, but when did people start calling it a t-shirt? The first recorded use of the term dates back to around 1920, when author F. Scott Fitzgerald used the word t-shirt in his novel This Side of Paradise. He described it as a standard piece of clothing for young men, and the name stuck. Why that name? Simple, because the shirt's shape, with its short sleeves and straight body, resembled the letter T. The word spread quickly through catalogs, advertisements, and everyday speech. By the 1920s, T-shirt wasn't just slang, it was the official name of the garment. For a long time, T-shirts remained in the shadows, worn by soldiers, workers, and athletes, but not exactly accepted as everyday fashion. That all changed after World War II, when returning soldiers continued wearing their military-issued T-shirts back home. Suddenly, the undershirt wasn't just underwear anymore, it was casual wear. Hollywood played a huge role in cementing the T-shirt's place in mainstream culture. Think of Marlon Brando in A Streetcar Named Desire, or James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. Both actors wore plain white T-shirts on screen, and those images instantly transformed the garment into a symbol of rebellion, youth, and coolness. What had once been considered an undergarment now carried an entirely new meaning. By the 1950s, T-shirts were no longer just for the working class or the military. They were a style statement. Of course, plain white t-shirts weren't the end of the story. In the 1960s and 70s, printing technology gave the t-shirt a whole new personality. Suddenly, shirts could display slogans, band names, protest messages, or colorful artwork. They became canvases for personal expression. So who invented the t-shirt? The truth is, it's not the work of a single genius designer or tailor. Instead, the t-shirt emerged gradually through necessity, adaptation, and cultural shifts. Workers cutting union suits in half played a role. The U.S. Navy made it official. Fitzgerald gave it its name. Hollywood glamorized it. Printing presses and fashion houses commercialized it. It's less about one person's invention and more about an evolution shaped by many different forces. But if we had to pinpoint the moment the t-shirt became official, it would be the U.S. Navy's adoption of the cotton undershirt in 1913. That decision gave birth to the garment we recognize today and set it on its journey from practical workwear to global fashion staple. Fast forward to today, and the t-shirt is arguably the most universal piece of clothing in the world. From high-end designer collections to cheap bulk packs at department stores, everyone owns them. They've been used to make political statements, commemorate events, and express individuality. They cross cultures, generations, and social classes. And here's the fascinating thing. Despite all the changes in fashion trends, the core design of the t-shirt hasn't really changed in over 100 years. A round neck, short sleeves, and a soft cotton fabric. Simple, but timeless. It's proof that sometimes the most ordinary-looking things have the richest stories behind them. So next time you throw on a t-shirt, remember, it's not just a piece of fabric. It's a garment that started as underwear, became a symbol of rebellion, turned into a canvas for self-expression, and ended up as the universal uniform of modern life. From Navy sailors to James Dean to you standing in front of your closet, the t-shirt has traveled an incredible journey. And as for the question, who invented the t-shirt, the answer is layered. It wasn't one person, but many forces combined. Still, we can thank the U.S. Navy for popularizing it and F. Scott Fitzgerald for giving it its now iconic name. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.